HowTo schema can make your SERP listing bigger, increase your click-through rate, and help search engines understand the context of your web page. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write HowTo schema, how to add it to your WordPress blog posts, how to test it for errors, and how we manage this when we have people who write content and people who publish it. At the end of this video, I'm going to take you through why you want to do it, but first, let's have a look at how to do it. Using this old blog post I wrote back in 2017, as we come down we can see there's a heading here that says how to go live with a WordPress website. There's a short description of what we're doing, and then we have step-by-step instructions of what to do. This is going to be perfect for HowTo schema because we need a title, we need a description, we need steps with titles on each of the steps that summarize the points that we're making. And so for us to turn this into HowTo schema, if we go over to technicalseo.com and we go to schema generator, we can click on this drop down right here and select how to. This is then going to give us options for name, so what we're going to be explaining how to do, a description, so then we're going to go into a little bit more depth of what we're doing, how long we estimate it will take to do it, how much we estimate it will cost, what currency it's in, and then an image right here that would be a good sort of summary image for the how to. Using this as our example, if I come back to here, I can grab this heading, put that in the name field, grab this here and put that in the description and remove that extra space. Total time, well, we have right here it says 30 minutes, so I'm going to put in 30. Cost and currency are irrelevant to this, and then where it wants an image, we can actually take this image right here. We don't have to do this, but we can take this image. If I do copy image address, we can paste that image right there. So that's going to put our featured image as the image that we are saying is the one that is most relevant to this. So next we've got add supply and add tool. Supply often isn't relevant to what we're doing, but tools often are. And it is in this scenario too, since we've got Google Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, etc. So as we go down, I've put these in bold so they're easy for us to see. And we can just paste these in here one by one. Get rid of that space at the beginning. Now that we've set that up, we need to scroll down and then we're going to fill out these step by step what we need to do. Now I've always thought this tool done this a little bit backwards, but basically we've got here the description of it and then we've got the overall descriptive name of that thing. So basically what I mean is we've given a title here of ensure the site can be indexed by Google, and then we go on to explain how you do exactly that thing. So we're going to give if somebody was to just skim read this how to schema, they'd be able to see just by those titles what they need to do, and then if they don't know how to do it, they can then read the instructions. So they've got to ensure it can be indexed by Google. Then they've got to ensure the contact forms are set up to go through to the client's email address. Then they've got to install Yoast SEO. And each of these different things, if they didn't know how to install Yoast SEO, this is going to explain how to do it. So I'm going to grab that title right there, come back to here and put it in that name field there. And then we've got instructions, and this is where our actual content here will go. We then have a field for image URL, and we can and should use that if we have it, but more often than not we're not going to have it. So we can leave that blank and we will just get a warning in Search Console, which we don't need to worry about. But in this instance I actually do have an image that we can use for this, so I'm just going to come down here and grab it. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to right click and copy image address. And then I'm going to click on add step. So that's the first step done. Now we're going to do step 2. So I'm going to come back up to here. I'm going to grab that title, paste it into that name field, then get the content, come back to here, put it into the instructions and remove that extra space. And it wants an image again. Well, actually this is another example where I do have an image that I can use, which is this one here. So I'm going to use it. Again, just to be clear, if we don't have an image we can use, we can leave that blank, and more often than not when we're working we are leaving that blank, but just because I can do it, I'm going to do it today. Okay, so let's do step 3. And we'll get that image. add another step. I'll get to step 4. Add step 5. I'm going to get that image too. And then finally step 6. And that's us done. So if we scroll back up to the top, you'll notice here we now have this JSON code that's been generated, this JavaScript right here. And so this is all of what we've just put in here as output here. So it's got the name, how to go live with WordPress website, the description, there it goes on, it's just hidden off the page. Image, that's our featured image we copied over. Total time, that's that 30 minutes we put in. And then all the different tools, Search Console, Bing, Google Analytics, Yoast. And then we've got step, and it says how to, step, and then it's got the text and the name, and that's each of our steps is in there. So what we have to do now is we want to click on this copy button right here, and then we'll go back to our blog post, and then we want to edit the post, so we can click on edit post. And then if we scroll right down to the bottom of our article, and then click on the plus, and then we want to do the custom HTML block, and paste it in there exactly as it is, and then click on update. If we now go back to the post and we scroll right down, you'll notice that you don't actually see anything output on the page at all. It's exactly the same as it was before we done it, and that's because this is hidden schema code that we've just added. There are a couple of ways to validate the HowTo schema code that we just generated, but the quickest way is to copy the URL of the page you just published it on, come over to validator.schema.org, make sure fetch URL is selected, and then paste it into this field here and click on run test. After a couple of seconds, that's going to bring back all the different schema that you've got on the page, and as you can see right here, our page has got HowTo schema and article schema. Both of them say 0 errors and 0 warnings, so that means you're absolutely fine. You can now move on to the next task. However, if there are a bunch of errors in here, then what we might need to do is come back to our generator, copy out this code again, because it's unlikely there's going to be any errors here, and then go back to our article and delete out this block and then recreate it again and then run through the test again. More often than not, that's going to solve any problems that this will pull up, because this generator is pretty sound. If you're using the rich results test or Search Console to test your HowTo schema, you're going to notice there's a bunch of non-critical issues. But when you look into it a little bit more, you're going to notice that it's saying that these things are optional for you to add, and so you don't need to worry about them. If you want to add this into your processes but you don't want to create a bunch of unnecessary communication, I've found the following to be the most efficient. Teach your writer that where it makes sense in an article, we want to include a how-to section that's laid out like this here. And the first thing they need to do is make sure that they have a heading above the how-to section that explains what we're about to teach people how to do. So in this example here, I've got how to go live with a WordPress website. After that, we want to have a short description that's usually a paragraph, and it's going to explain again what it is we're going to teach them, and we're going to include in here how long it's going to take where possible. And we're also going to include this statement here that explains all the different tools they need. You'll notice that these things are in bold, and the reason why these are in bold is because that then makes it easier for the publisher to go through and quickly pick out what they need to put in the different sections of the HowTo schema generator tool. We then need the writer to create an ordered list of each of the steps. Each step will begin with a title, which will be formatted by a bold tag followed by a line break. These headings will be blunt, to the point directions of what needs to be done that the reader will be able to skim through. Under each of these headings will be a more in-depth description of what needs to be done. Then after the writer has finished writing a section, get them to highlight the whole thing, click on comment and then write in HowTo Schema and then click on this comment button. You then just need to teach your publisher what we went through earlier and they'll be able to quickly add HowTo Schema to your articles going forward. And if your writer is also your publisher, you can just show them this video and they'll be able to do the whole thing themselves. It's also worth noting here that you should only include one HowTo Schema code on each page. The whole point of schema markup is to give search engines a better idea of what your page is about. And although I've never run them myself, I've been told about single variable tests that showed HowTo Schema to be a positive ranking signal. Whether you believe that or not, the effect it can have on your SERP listing can't be ignored. Let's take a look at a search phrase like this where it makes total sense for Google to bring in HowTo Schema into the SERP. Although this one's mainly dominated by videos, as we come down you'll notice this listing here from WikiHow is quite a lot bigger than the one above it, and it says 8 steps and it's got 1, 2, 3. Now it's not just the fact that that SERP listing is bigger, it's also that that's going to indicate to the searcher straight away that this is definitely going to answer what it is they were looking to get answered. When you compare that to the SERP listing above it that's slightly smaller, although it looks like if you was to really read it, it will probably give you the answer. This one here with the steps makes it really clear. On top of that, what's even better is when you have a look on Bing for the same search phrase, and we come down and we have a look at that particular page that's also ranking there, you'll see that the way that they lay this out is even bigger, and you actually can click through here and read it in the SERP listing, which might not be a great thing. However, a lot of people are going to see that and then click through to the page because they'll know they're going to get better information. It's going to be easier for them to actually see it if they click through. So I'd be happy with that personally. One thing I think is quite interesting about this page here is how Google are now dealing with this, because this has changed from when I first set this up in my company. If we look at the source code right here of the page, we can see that their HowTo schema is almost identical to how we created ours earlier. They've got a few extra bits in here, but we don't need to worry about any of it. You'll see here they've got their HowTo step, and what's interesting is the text here is actually what's getting pulled in on the SERP listing in Google, whereas Bing is pulling in the whole title at the top here and the description underneath it. I personally wouldn't give too much thought to any of that side of it, because by the time you're watching this video this will probably be completely changed, but it is interesting to see the differences between how Google and Bing handle schema markup. So if you'd like a bigger SERP listing, higher rankings and more traffic, give what I just shared a go, and if you enjoyed this video make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.